Hey guys, how you doing? I'm sitting here with Scott Fraser from Tomatin Distillery. He is the brand ambassador for the world. And it's a pleasure having you, Scott. How you doing?
Very well, Jazz. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. So tell us a little bit about Tomatin. I want basically the people watching this to learn a little bit about Tomatin from you.
So Tomatin Distillery is 121 years old. Whiskey's been made in Scotland for an awful lot longer than that, with records of whiskey being made going back to the 15th century. The name Tomatin in Gaelic, which is a Scottish language, means hill of the juniper. Tom means hill and Atin means juniper bush. The whiskey started being distilled legally in Tomatin in 1897, so that was 121 years ago. The distillery has gone under an evolution throughout those times. The distillery, when it was initially built, was built by a group of Inverness businessmen. The distillery only lasted until 1906 because of the Paterson crash. Between 1908 and 1974, the company was called Tomatin Distillers. Throughout World War I and World War II, there was very little whiskey being made. But after World War II, Tomatin Distillery went under a rapid period of transformation. We went from having 2 copper pot stills to having 23 copper pot stills. We produced 100,000 litres of spirit to now then producing 12.5 million litres of spirit.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
It became very, very big. Now, the reason why not many people had heard of Tomatin throughout this time is that the majority of our single malt that we were producing at this time would go into blending, to blended scotch.
So people were having it, they just didn't know it was in a blend, basically.
Exactly. Jazz, you and I are 2 such young creatures that we weren't drinking blended whiskey back in the 50s, 60s and 70s.
But people always say when you find those older bottles, oh man, these taste so much better than what is produced now.
I mean, and everything has its places in history. We'd like to say that things have evolved a little bit by then,
Sure.
by now, but the single malt that we made back then was perfect for going into blends. It acts as an excellent base malt for the blends. It binded together the flavours of the grain whiskey and some of the peatier single malt scotches very, very well. In the 1980s, there was a global recession, and that's when lots of distilleries shut down in Scotland. Tomatin Distillery went into liquidation, but by 1986, we started up a new company called the Tomatin Distillery Company, who now own the distillery as it is today. And over the last 30 years, 33 years now, we have changed the process quite considerably. We now focus on producing a very consistent quality of spirit, and we're now trying to promote the Tomatin name as much as we possibly can. Tomatin is now sold in over 50 markets all around the world. And we now focus on our single malt brand. So throughout the core range of Tomatin, you will now find 7 different expressions, starting off with Dualcus, which is our no age statement, matured in virgin oak and first fill ex-bourbon. The Tomatin 12-year-old, which is our most traditional style scotch, is matured in equal parts bourbon, sherry and refill casks, and it creates a beautifully balanced single malt whiskey. The newest addition to the core range was the 14-year-old Portwood. This is finished in tawny port casks, which come from the Symington winery in Oporto, which creates some red fruit flavours along with those creamy flavours coming through from some bourbon casks. There's the Tomatin 18-year-old, which is a mainstay of our portfolio, but it's finished in Oloroso sherry casks for over 3 years, which creates a big, bold sherry finish. The sherry is dry but fruity, which creates a lovely long finish. We also have the Tomatin 30-year-old and Tomatin 36-year-old, which are permanently available. The Tomatin 30-year-old is matured exclusively in bourbon casks, and because of this, the bourbon casks and refill casks, and because of this we're able to create different layers within the whiskey. Tomatin 36-year-old is matured in equal parts bourbon and sherry casks. Each batch is just 3 casks, 1 Oloroso sherry cask and 2 bourbon casks. And what this does is it creates a beautifully balanced older whiskey, and in both the 30 and 36-year-old you get these beautiful oxidized lead flavours that come from the air as opposed to just the oak having too much influence. So all in all, we have an incredibly diverse portfolio, and hopefully we can find a whiskey that everybody can enjoy.
It's fantastic. Now you guys also have some rare stuff too. Like I heard you guys are coming out with a very limited amount of 1975. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So we're just about to ship 1975 over to the United States. There's going to be 70 bottles available. It's going to retail about $6,000. It's been matured exclusively in an Oloroso sherry hogshead. And what this does is it has these beautiful oxidized flavors, but also because it's been 43 years old, there's an elegance that comes through. The package that will come in is also, it comes with 2 crystal glasses along with, and it's bottled in a crystal decanter as well, which is exclusive to the customer. And what I'll do, Jazz, is I'll share some pictures of that with you after our meeting today, and hopefully
Sure, I'll throw them in this video. One quick last thing. What would you say makes Tomatin different than some of the brands which are out there?
We've almost found our own little niche in the market. We're a cross between a Highland and a Speyside. We're right on the borderline in Scotland between being from the Highlands and being from the Speyside. It's why our tagline is the softer side of the Highlands. There's that sort of light, fruity, malty character that you get from Speysides, but as I always like to say, it's got a little bit of that rugged Highland charm, and so it's very difficult to put our whiskey into one box, and because of that, there's a different flavour and different whiskey out there for every type of consumer.
Fantastic. I had a lovely time trying all your whiskeys today, and thank you so much for taking out the time and doing this.
Cheers.
Cheers.
No, nice to meet you, Jazz. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Cheers.